Hey everyone, how are we doing on this Wednesday? Beautiful sunny day here in the 84025. Welcome back to another edition of Fan Talk. This is your favorite podcast by your favorite fan, K Branch in the house on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. We got a lot of great things coming your way here on Fan Talk. But first, Fan Talk is a podcast that you can find on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and now Apple Podcasts. So go look it up, Fan Talk Kyle Brenchley. You can find it there. I record it, obviously, so if you like the video part, you can watch the video. If you're more of just audio, you can do that as well. It's on all sorts of platforms, all sorts of different venues as well. So, there. All right, first shout out to the Rogue One poster. Great Star Wars movie. May the 4th is coming up. Phantom Menace is in theaters for a very, very limited time to celebrate the 25th anniversary of that movie. That's right, it came out in 1999, which is crazy to believe that that's been 25 years since that movie came out. I remember watching that as a kid, loved it. Love me some Darth Maul, love me some Qui-Gon Jinn. I try to have the hair like Qui-Gon, where it's long, tied back. Always really looked up to him. This is where we got introduced to Anakin Skywalker. Great movie, a lot of nostalgia around it. It is going to be in theaters this May 4th, so go check that out if you can find a local theater with that movie in it. All right, this episode we're going to be talking all about the NFL draft because that went down a couple weeks ago and I barely mentioned it last week. So this week we're going to dive right in and talk about the picks by teams. We'll obviously take a closer look at the Denver Broncos because those are my teams. And we'll kind of see what this season's going to shake out to be after the draft. But first, let's do our Fan Talk Fast Talk. If you're new here, the Fan Talk Fast Talk is 3 or 4 stories that I just squirt out 30 seconds or less. So, here we go. The Phoenix Suns get swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves 4-0. Crazy there. A lot of people were thinking that the Phoenix Suns, even though the lower seed, the 6th seed, were going to upset the 3 seed Minnesota Timberwolves, but they got swept. They did not win a single game. Reports out of Phoenix are saying that KD was not happy with his offensive role. Too many times he was being relegated to the corner. And that's what happens sometimes when you try to put together a big 3 and all 3 are used to being the top guy. So KD's not happy. There's been talks about Devin Booker being traded. One very popular rumor is that he might team up with Jalen Brunson in New York. That could be a problem. So keep your eyes on that. But Phoenix is left looking for questions as they leave. Another disappointing offseason being swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Lakers, another disappointing postseason. They lose 4 games to 1 to the Denver Nuggets. They did get the 1 game. They avoided the sweep. Is LeBron James done in LA? Signs point to him becoming a free agent. Unrestricted free agent here really soon. So we'll see what happens there. Will he leave? Or will he wait for Bronny to be drafted by the Lakers and run it back with his son in LA for another year? Also, Denver Nuggets looking good. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. Could we have a repeat on our hands? We'll see. Very good. Excuse me. Very good matchup between the Timberwolves and the Nuggets coming up next in the Western Conference. And Travis Kelce, everyone's favorite tight end. It's a $4 million raise for the next 2 seasons. He is on contract through the 2025 season. So my thoughts here are 2 more seasons, and then he's done. But he gets a $4 million raise, making him the highest paid tight end in the NFL. And that was the Fan Talk Fast Talk. Hope you enjoyed. Okay, guys, there you go. Just a little something I like to do. You cover more stories. A lot of people, I look at the analytics of videos and podcasts, and I see a lot of people drop off after 2 or 3 minutes. So if I can put this in at the beginning and get a couple stories in, then people can, still get an idea of what the podcast is all about if they don't have time to stay the whole 15, 20 minutes of the show. So let's talk the NFL draft. Obviously, it's been a couple weeks now, and most content has been covered at this point. But last week, I just barely touched on it. I do want to, go in more depth. And a lot of people do, who won the draft, winners and losers of the draft. And I can see why people do that. I can see, maybe the benefits or that it's fun or it's all part of the breaking the down process. But honestly, from what I've learned as a fan who sits on my couch and watches the games, is that it's really hard to tell just from, oh, we drafted this guy. Are we really winning the draft? Well, it's hard to say because the guy hasn't even stepped on the field yet. He could be a bust. Obviously, the first round here, there was a lot of quarterbacks taken. I think back to, I think it was 2017. I think it was 2017 draft where Josh Rosen. You guys remember him? If not, he's probably working at your local Dairy Queen right now. Josh Rosen out of UCLA, incredible college quarterback. Everyone thought that he was going to be the next star of the NFL. And when he got drafted, he was like, we are going to win some Super Bowls. That's what he said. He's like, we are going to win. Josh Rosen, he bounced around a couple teams. I remember he was on the Cardinals for a little bit. He was on the Dolphins. Absolutely just total flop in the NFL. Where is he now? Like I said, he's probably down scooping ice cream at your local Dairy Queen. So, I mean, it's really hard to tell. Obviously, Caleb Williams, first overall pick, going to Chicago, very talented player. I saw him at OU, very good there, and then he transferred to USC, did some great things there. But a lot of people are skeptical, and I did not want the Broncos to trade up to get him. I didn't want him on the Broncos, not because he's not talented, but because I don't think he's gonna pan out to be a star in the NFL. I think unfortunately he's gonna be a flop. Maybe not as bad as Josh Rosen, maybe not as Paxton Lynch, but I just don't know if he's going to be as good. And it's hard to say. We'll have to see when he steps on the field. Jaden Daniels, of course, the second quarterback taken in the draft, he went to Washington. Now, this is an intriguing one because Washington obviously had Sam Howell, who was I think a third-year guy, second or third-year guy. So he was pretty fresh. I think he was his second year. And, rookie quarterback for the first year, second-year quarterback, young guy. And things just didn't really work out there. So they traded him and moved on. And now they're starting over with Jaden Daniels. So it's really just hard. I mean, you can look down and you can break down the team scheme. You can look at the coach and how they call the offense and use the different things and how the quarterback fits in. But at the end of the day, until they step on the field, until they build chemistry, until they prove something, it's hard to say. Drake May going to the Patriots, same kind of deal. They had Mac Jones, drafted from, I think, 4 years ago. He was a flop, so they moved on from him, and they're starting over with Drake May. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals. I like this one a lot because if Kyler Murray's healthy, these two can be a dynamic duo. It can be fun to watch. It will be a good time. I won't read all of these. You guys can read, and you guys probably already know. Joe Alt and League Neighbors. Some big names going here in the first round. An interesting one, Michael Penix Jr. going to the Falcons. Now, if you don't know, the Atlanta Falcons signed Kirk Cousins this offseason as a free agent. He's left Minnesota. He's now in Atlanta. And so drafting Michael Penix, you're like, okay, so what's the deal here? And maybe, just maybe, the idea is, the Falcons are looking at some of these other teams like the Bears, Commanders, the Patriots. They don't really have a star quarterback that the young rookie can learn from. Sure, maybe they have some veteran backups who have been in the league a long time, but they're not any good, really. So maybe they're looking at that and they're like, well, Caleb Williams might be a bust because he's got no one to look up to. You look at Bryce Young, who did he learn from in Carolina? Jaden McDaniels, Drake May, So they're maybe thinking, oh, Michael Penix Jr., we'll draft him. Kirk Cousins will be in the league for a couple more years. We'll let Michael Penix learn under him, train up, step in if needed. And then, when Kirk Cousins retires, we have Michael Penix, who's solid and has the potential to keep our quarterback room nice and going. Or, if things don't work out with Cousins, we could trade him. We could trade Michael Penix. A lot of different scenarios there. J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, of course, replacing Kirk Cousins. And then I do want to talk about this. So let's jump over here. Nice little thing here on ESPN. It breaks it down by teams. We're going to be talking about the Denver Broncos specifically just because that is my team. And Bo Nix. A lot of people were criticizing this pick. Bo Nix drafted a little early. But here's the deal. Denver was going to draft a quarterback no matter what. They had this first round pick because they played pretty poorly last year. And so they had this. They didn't have any second round picks. They didn't have any good picks except for this one. So if they were going to get a quarterback, it was going to be with this pick. And maybe they were going to trade up. A lot of people were saying, no, maybe they trade up and get J.J. McCarthy. Maybe they trade up and get Drake May. Whatever. But ultimately, Denver, Sean Payton George Paton, they all decided that, you know what, we're going to take Bo Nix at 12. Who cares? Great stats, 6'2", 214. Honestly, great. A lot of experience in college. Played, I think, 6 years. A couple years at Auburn, of course, and then at Oregon. Really good, dual threat, can run, can throw, is composed. I honestly love this pick. Of course, they have Zach Wilson that they traded for and Jared Stidham on the roster as well. So I think ultimately what it comes down to in training camp, who plays better, Zach Wilson or Bo Nix? If it's Zach Wilson, they roll with him until Zach, kind of messes up or is not doing well, then they put Bo Nix in, or vice versa. Maybe they started out with Bo Nix, throw him into the fire, see how he does, and then if he's struggling, they have Zach Wilson to step in and help out. So I honestly like this pick. A lot of people are critical of it, but it's 2024. Everyone's critical of everything. And give me some love here. I think some really good picks here by the Denver Broncos. They load up on edge with Jonah Ellis. If you've not seen Jonah Ellis in action, go watch some Utah Utes football highlights. Of course, he's out of Utah. He'll play edge. It's very good for the Denver defense. There's a couple holes on the defense, especially with a lot of shift over the last couple years with the different players. Randy Gregory walking away, Draymond Jones walking away. So adding Jonah Ellis is huge. Troy Franklin, too, wide receiver. Man, if you can just build up a bunch of young wide receivers, he already has that connection with Bo Nix. Ooh, give me some of that. Never hurts to add some defensive players. Chris Abrams-Draney from Missouri. And then Audric Estime from Notre Dame. This guy is a tank. Look at this guy. 5'11", 221. This guy is pure muscle. Pure muscle. He will join a very talented running back room with Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin. And then there's Samaje Perine in there as well. Those four guys, woo! Run game. We better have a good run game here this season. Excuse me. I went running earlier today, and I did some ice therapy, some cold therapy in one of the creeks nearby, and water's really cold, obviously, because this time of year it's warming up and all the snow's coming down from the mountains, and the creeks are just like super cold. But it felt really good, but just trying to stay hydrated because training for a half marathon is no walk in the park. And then, okay, jumping back here, 7th round pick, Devon Vele, of course, from Utah, another young wide receiver that really adds some skill and depth to the wide receiver room. And then Nick Gargiulo from South Carolina. Never hurts to have some backup offensive linemen, especially, when people go down all the time. So, honestly, let me know what you guys think about the NFL draft. It's hard for me to sit down and really say this team is a winner, this team is a loser based off the draft. Obviously, you can pose some questions. I know Michael Penix Jr. Pick was posing some questions. Brock Bowers to the Raiders was questionable as they have 2 young tight ends already. So now they got 3. So one's got to go, or they're just going to use a lot of 3 tight end sets. You're almost wondering if that team should have taken a quarterback. You're looking around, you got Aiden McConnell and Gardner Minshew as your 2 quarterbacks. So the Broncos really have no excuse to be the bottom of the AFC West this year, just because the Raiders are so good. But yeah, that's kind of my take on things. It's hard for me to really give a grade or say this is a winner or loser, because at the end of the day, before they step on the field, before they prove themselves, you don't know. Because back when Josh Rosen was picked, back when Paxton Lynch was picked, people were saying, great picks, watch out for Denver. They've got Paxton Lynch. Watch out for, was it the Cardinals that drafted Josh Rosen? Watch out for the Cardinals because, they got Josh Rosen. Oh, interestingly enough, it looks like he's a free agent right now, but he was drafted by, let's see. Yeah, he was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. So, it's just really hard to be like, this team's going to be good, this team's not going to be back. But people do it. People do it all the time, and if that's what you're looking for, you can go find that out in the world. But I'm real excited about the NFL season. Of course, still 4 months away, but I just wanted to do this little NFL draft breakdown just because why not? Why not? And of course, I got my Super Bowl ring here from the Denver Broncos. Feeling good now. Waiting for the season to come and for me to be humbled. But hey, at the end of the day, football is football. Sports are sports. And the impact it has on us is much bigger than the product on the field. Emotions get tied, experience, nostalgia, powerful experiences from being at sports games live in person. It should be real fun. All right, guys, that's all I have for you guys this week here on Fan Talk. Next week, we'll talk more NBA and NHL playoffs, of course. A lot of good games going down tonight. The Celtics have a chance to close out the Miami Heat tonight, and then a really good game between the Clippers and the Mavericks. That series is tied 2-2 right now. So go watch some NBA basketball, go watch some NHL hockey, and as always, stay fruity. A Fan Talk podcast by me, Kyle Brenchley. Again, you can find it on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, and now Apple Podcast. I am everywhere. Tell your friends, like, comment, subscribe, give me suggestions, whatever you guys want to do. I am open and down to hear it. All right, guys, you guys have a blessed Wednesday afternoon. I will see you guys next week for another edition of Fan Talk.